Hey everyone, welcome back to In the Alley. My name is Cody. Glad you guys are back for another video. Today, we are previewing the rest of Week 13. Now, if you guys didn't get the Massachusetts Green Bay video, it's out. Go look it up. It's not going to be a part of this one. Timestamps will be right here for the other 6 games that are part of Week 13. So with that being said, we will move on with Tulsa and Jacksonville. All right, preview number 1 to start the night, 6:05 p.m. Central Time, YouTube and Caffeine TV, live from the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena in Jacksonville, Florida. The 3-7 Tulsa Oilers are taking on the 1-8 Jacksonville Sharks. Tulsa's going in the wrong direction. Jacksonville's already there. Something's got to give in this one, right? It's going to be a fun game to see who can kind of bust out of their slump. Now, Jacksonville's only win is against Tulsa. Tulsa has lost 4 in a row. That's not good, obviously, but a lot of roster turnover when it comes to both teams. Now, not as much from Tulsa, but they have had quite a bit of, quarterback loss, dealing with, going from Daniel Smith to Andre Sale. They've had some injuries. Just kind of some back and forth here with Tulsa where just something's not clicking. On the Jacksonville side, it's just been a complete overhaul of the roster. They've gone from what they had were, in my opinion, some of the best wide receivers in the game to, well, now Jeremiah Payton's your leading receiver. Not to say he's bad, but seeing what they had last year in Tamarian Terry and, blanking on his name, Cam Solomon, what they had in the NAL, and everything along those lines, it's just been a complete season from hell for Jacksonville. Now, let's take a look at our statistical leaders. Andre Sale leading in the passing category. Like I said, Daniel Smith is gone. He's been formidable. It just comes down to can they throw the ball. It has been very, very hit or miss since Andre Sale has been here. And I'm not sure what their offensive identity is. Now, Gerard Ware Jr., who we'll talk about in the injury report, he is off short-term injured reserve. Hopefully he can add a boost in the running game, and hopefully he can add a boost in the passing game as well to kind of take some heat off of the wide receivers and the constant passing that Tulsa seems like they've had to do. Alexis Rosario leads in the receiving category, as he normally does. We're going to need to get some big things from him if Tulsa wants a chance to win this game. Defensively, as always, Noah Lyles, Jordan Jones, Trey Harvey leading in their respective categories. Trey Harvey having a pretty good season for himself as well. You take a look at that snapshot, 50.5 tackles, 4.5 for a loss, 2 picks, and 6 pass breakups. He's having one hell of a season. On the Jacksonville side, Fred Payton is leading in rushing and passing. Now, he didn't play last week. That was in favor of N'Kosi Perry, but N'Kosi Perry has been released. Blip on the radar says he's going over to Europe to play outdoors, so kudos to him if that's a step up. If it's not, I don't know. I don't watch Europe football, so they have signed Aaron Aiken. We'll talk about that in the roster report, so I'm pretty sure Fred Payton is probably going to get the start here. I'm not sure. Aaron Aiken is a veteran of the game, so we'll just be curious to see how they go about that. Jeremiah Payton leads in receiving. Ulrich Jones, Chase Lassiter, and Jabari Gorman all lead in their respective defensive categories. And not to be outdone, but Jabari Gorman having a pretty good season for Jacksonville on that secondary. 49 tackles, 2.5 for a loss, 5 pass breakups, 2 forced fumbles. He's got to get an interception in there, man. I'm not calling it today, but would be kind of cool. He's had a couple, I believe, called back. I think he's had an interception or 2 called back sometime this season, which just kind of sucks. Players to watch for both teams, as I said earlier, Alexis Rosario, he had a decent game. He had a pretty decent game. 6 catches, 52 yards, and a touchdown versus San Diego. He's been hit or miss. He's been hot and cold. You need to have some star on this offense. The question is, who is that star? Earlier in the season, you could probably say it was Rosario. They've taken turns, whether it's been him, Crockett. I mean, Daniel Smith has been decent. He had that one game where he had 5 rushing touchdowns, I believe. So take your pick. You got to find that guy and have him break out. Now's the time to have your stars step up. You got to make that push to the playoffs. We'll see. Defensively, Jordan Jones, 5 tackles, 3 pass breakups. He's been a menace. On the field, he's been ejected a couple of times, but other than that, he has been a menace. He did all right for what he did last week against San Diego. 3 pass breakups. It brings his total to 5 on the season. Look for him to really get after the offense if Jacksonville is going to sputter and run out of gas like they do. Jordan Jones is probably going to have a hand in that, blitzing up the middle or trying to tackle the running game for losses or no gains. So that's who I'm looking for Tulsa. On the Jacksonville side, DJ Stubbs, you need someone on the wide receiving core to step up. He did just that last week. 4 catches, 92 yards, and a touchdown against Arizona. Like I said, Jeremiah Payton with that Payton connection could come back, but right now DJ Stubbs, he is also the return man. Look for some good things for him there in that realm, but ultimately you need someone to step up on this offense. N'Kosi Perry played pretty well against Arizona, but just so much turnover on this team, it's hard to pinpoint who's going to step up week after week. Hopefully Stubbs can be that guy. Chase Lassiter, I had him last week. I have him this week. 4 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss, and 1 sack. A simple thing, just like Jordan Jones. Get after the quarterback. Andre Sale, he can take off when he needs to, but if you can pressure him, throw off his timing, this should be kind of a defensive battle, to be brutally honest with you. And when I mean defensive, I mean if you can have Jacksonville's defense step up and really pressure and throw Sale's timing off, this could be a low-scoring game. Series history, Jacksonville leads 1-0. Like I said earlier, that was their only win on the season. Excuse me, God. That is their only win on the season to date. 47-44 in Week 8. I do apologize. That is gross, and I don't like that. Tulsa is favored by 3.5. Money line is juiced to the Oilers and an over-under of 87. So if I can quit this coughing fit, we can go take care of the rest of the preview. All right, injury report popping up. Nothing really on the Tulsa side. Everything kind of just stays the same. For Jacksonville, they do get a name off of their injury report. It is Jeremiah Price. We'll see how he fits into the defensive line. It's been kind of a solid-ish defensive line right now. Getting him back is probably going to help boost it. It begs the question, though, when are those other 2 guys coming off of the injury report? I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, if they're out for the season, they're out for the season, but nothing's been updated on the transactions page, and I haven't seen anything else. So let's move on to the roster. My goodness. Let's move on to the roster and the rest of the preview. All right, 25-man roster. Take a look at the away side first. Nothing changes for Tulsa, at least offensively. I don't think anything changes really at all through their roster. Again, rosters were done Friday at 3 or 4 o'clock or something along those lines. So anything that comes on late, I didn't get to. So if anything does change, oops. Nothing changes for Tulsa's roster. Everything kind of stays the same. I would expect maybe, I don't even know if there's going to be any changes maybe on the defensive line. If they start needing other defensive linemen, I expect everything to kind of just be the same. So on the Jacksonville side, they have signed some players. They have released some players. Coming in at quarterback, as we talked earlier, Aaron Aiken. He played for Quad City and San Diego and Duke City, amongst others, in the previous years. So maybe a little bit of some veteran leadership. I don't know if you'll see game time action. We'll see. Anything else offensively? They have signed Jaden Stoshak, which I think the Stoshak that they had last year in the NAL, when I was watching a couple of the games, I think it was Jensen Stoshak. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sharks fans. So I don't think that's the same guy. Could be related, but not sure. Defensively, like I said, they get Jeremiah Price back, so that's going to help out on the defensive line. They have signed Xavier Peters. That begs the question, does that mean Lassiter is going to play? If they signed a linebacker, is Peters going to step up? Is Lassiter hurt and just taking the game off? I'm not sure. They do have the same 4 in the secondary, so they don't really get a break unless they're going to move one of those linebackers or maybe a wide receiver over to the defensive side to help kind of spell that. And that's just been kind of Jacksonville's MO. They don't really have a lot of depth in the secondary. They've really been going with 4 guys all season. Very rarely have you seen anyone step up in terms of depth, I guess. But anyway, let's go take a look at our bet. Let's go look at our prediction, and we will move on. Best bet, I can't quit them. Money line for Jacksonville. This just seems kind of like a trap game for Tulsa. It also seems like a get-right game for Tulsa. You were at home. You had a very good game against Arizona. You fell apart at the end. This is the team that you have beaten before. Could they do it again? That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping. Jacksonville, even with all the roster turnover, the continuity that they have as of right now, I think is just a little bit better than what Tulsa has. Now, add in the fact that Tulsa has to travel, add in the fact that Jacksonville stays at home for the second week in a row. Yeah, they've signed a couple of guys and released a couple of guys, but at the same time, I just like what Jacksonville has to offer in this one. Could this be something where they get their second win of the season? Maybe. Not shocked if Tulsa wins, but at the same time, this is the prime spot for Jacksonville to pull another upset, quote unquote. I don't know if it's necessarily an upset, but for Jacksonville to win this game, get a second win on the season, and kind of get some momentum going towards the second half and then probably into next season. So, money line for the Sharks. All right, prediction time. It's money line, so you know I got to pick them to win as well. 42-39, Jacksonville. I have it close. I have it a little lower-ish scoring, medium scoring, whatever you want to call it. I do think Tulsa is going to put up some points. They are all right. I mean, both these teams can score into the 40s. I look for Jacksonville to repeat a 40-point performance. We'll see if they do it. I don't know. Like I said in the best bet, I just like what Jacksonville has in this game. I'm not really sure. I don't know. There's just something that just does not sit right with me with Tulsa. They've lost 4 in a row. Could it be 5? Well, Jacksonville's lost how many in a row? I mean, it's insane. One of these teams, I don't think whoever wins this game, it's not going to turn a season around. But if Tulsa wins this game and goes to 4-7, they do have an opportunity to kind of climb back into the playoff race. So this game does mean quite a bit for the Oilers. Maybe not as much for Jacksonville, but an opportunity to play spoiler and a chance to, I think this is the last game that they play, so a chance for a sweep. I like the fact that Jacksonville is at home for a second straight week. They can work on some things. They don't have to worry about travel. Just something about Jacksonville that I'm liking here. So as we know, Tulsa's going to win. 42-39. I've got the Sharks winning close. And that's going to be it for recap. Jesus, I'm losing my mind right here. It's only the first one. That's it for preview number 1. Let's move on with our second preview. All right, preview number 2, Duke City and San Antonio. So let's start it off, 6:05 p.m. Central Time, YouTube and Caffeine TV, as always, live from the Freeman Coliseum in San Antonio, Texas. The 1-8 Duke City Gladiators taking on the 4-5 San Antonio Gunslingers. A lot to talk about. Now, San Antonio is coming off of a bye. Let's see how they respond. As you see down below in the preview, they have won their previous meeting. But Duke City coming off a 1-game winning streak. They have finally broken the curse. All it took was, really just Tucson kind of shooting themselves in the foot. I was impressed with Duke City in the second half, but there was just something about Tucson just not being able to score any amount of points in that second half and put the game away. Duke City wins by literally a point, coming off a missed extra point somewhere in that game. There's some missed field goals, what have you. Recap and all that stuff is up already, so I won't go through that. Stats up for both of these teams. Javen Kilgo, I'm assuming, is getting the start. 588 yards, 14 touchdowns, 8 picks. Jeff Carr, only 190 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. And Journey Sloan, 273 yards, 6 touchdowns on 25 catches. Defensively, Tamar Hart, Jason Serta, and Aaron Jackson lead in their respective categories. We will see what they do defensively. Tamar Hart has kind of been that linebacker while Serta has been out. We'll see if Serta comes back. First off, if he doesn't, Hart's probably going there, and you'll probably see Devonair Conliffe on the defensive line, barring whoever they have signed when we get to the rosters and injury report. Spoiler. For the San Antonio side, Sam Castronova doing what he does best, 49 touchdowns to just 3 picks, almost 2,000 yards passing, 266 yards and 11 touchdowns on the ground. And DJ Myers, I believe, is now the leading receiver in terms of yardage, 539 yards, 12 touchdowns. He is having a great year. Defensively, Harold Love, Ricky Wyatt, and Giovanni Sanders lead for the Gunslingers in their respective categories. Now, this is going to be a fun game in the sense of we have no idea what's going to happen. We have a sense of what's going to happen based on San Antonio's side, but for Duke City, I have no idea. Let's take a look at the players to watch here. Journey Sloan, 7 catches, 76 yards, and 1 touchdown. It's been a while since he's had a game like that. Now, he's been kind of in and out of the lineup as it is. They will need to rely on him a little bit more. We'll talk about it in a minute, but I do like what I've seen, and he did kind of break out when Kilgo was the starting quarterback when he took over from Taz Wilson in like week 2 or week 3 or whatever, game 2 or game 3. So to have him back really boosts this offense, and we'll see what happens. Defensively, Cam Pruitt, 5 tackles, half a tackle for a loss, and 1 pass breakup. It's him, Aaron Jackson, it's the entire secondary. As we know, they're going to throw it. San Antonio is going to throw it. You need that defense to be sturdy. You need to intercept passes, bat down passes, whatever you can do. Tackle them for as little yards, no yards after catch or anything. You got to be on your A game when it comes to the passing game of San Antonio. Players to watch, I've got DJ Myers for San Antonio. 5 catches, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns. Again, as I just said, they're going to throw the ball. He's probably prime suspect number 1, Callie Rashad, probably number 2, Austin Upshaw, probably number 3, and we go from there. We'll see if Vincent Gregory gets into the game as more of a revenge game thing. Obviously, Ricky Wyatt there as well, but whatever. It's not really revenge anymore. Defensive back, Clifton Duck, 3.5 tackles, 2 interceptions. If Duke City gets down, they're going to throw the ball. You're going to need your defense to step up as well. Clifton Duck has been pretty good in that category, especially the 2 picks that he had against Bay Area. Giovanni Sanders, Savante Davenport, Trey Long, whoever they throw in that secondary is probably going to have to cover some nice wide receivers that Duke City has. This has the potential to be one of those scoring explosions. We'll see that we saw, series history. That we saw in week 9 of last year. San Antonio leads the series 1-0. Not the best segue, but what can you do? So, San Antonio leads 1-0 on the all-time series. It was a nice back-and-forth game. That was the Joe Mancuso breakout game, and just fell short. So, we'll see. We'll see what goes on. Duke City is the underdog by 10.5 points. So San Antonio favored by almost 11. Money line is locked and an over-under of 95.5. All that being said, let's go check out the rosters, injuries, and the rest of the preview. All right, injury report. Just the 2 for Duke City. I think they were there last week. Greg Dent, Isaiah Bean. For San Antonio, Austin Collier has been upgraded, or I guess downgraded, to season injured reserve. Now, again, you can always take players off of season injured reserve. It's already been done this season. We'll see what happens with him, but not promising if he's gone from short-term to season. On the short-term injured reserve, Lewis and Vance are still there, and they've taken, I believe, Savante Davenport off. So that's going to boost their secondary. That's really it for both teams. I mean, some big injuries for San Antonio, but that's really it. Let's go check out the roster and the bets and our predictions and everything else that goes along with our preview. All right, 25-man rosters here for the away team. Hassan Rogers has been signed by Duke City. He is probably going to back up Javen Kilgo unless something screwy happens. Jeff Carr, always there. Wide receivers, Tamari and Terry finally got into a game. Lou Dorsey's there. Number 8, the Masked Magician. I have no idea who he is. I have not seen anything. If anyone can point him out to me, tell me who he is. I'd love to hear it. Until then, he is the Masked Magician. Offensively, on the line, everything stays the same. Defensively, on the D-line, Kwame Sutton gets signed. So that's leading me to believe that's not just a depth position. I'm thinking he's going to play. He's going to start. He was with Tucson, I believe, for a game or two. But that leads me to believe that he's going to start. Tamar Hart's probably going to play linebacker, or Devonair Conliffe is going to play both ways when it comes to wide receiver or defensive back or defensive line. So that's my hunch. We'll see. Jason Serta might get in there, but we'll find out. Secondary stays the same for Duke City. On the San Antonio side, not really much to talk about. Like I said, they got Savante Davenport back. That's really it. Everything else is probably going to stay the same for them. Offensive starters, defensive starters. They might switch some things up on the secondary just because of their depth, but we'll see. We will see. That's it for the rosters, and let's go check out our bet. Let's go check out the predictions, and we'll move on with our next preview. All right, best bet here, under 95.5. Now, these two teams can score in a clip. San Antonio talks all the time about wanting to score 60 points. So that could work. And if San Antonio gets up by enough, it could beg the question that Duke City has to throw. If they throw enough, they score enough points, and it could be honestly a 60-30 blowout or something along those lines, and you still hit the over. They score enough, right? I just don't see it. I don't have a lot of faith in Duke City offensively or defensively. It's just more of the same from this team. We'll see what the offense can do. They just don't have a running factor. San Antonio kind of does when it comes to their two-headed monster and their jet sweeps with Keyshawn Harper, Castronova, and then whoever they have doing motion sweeps. So we'll see. But I've got an under here. I do think some points will be scored. But honestly, both teams scoring 40-plus points, it can happen. You're still hitting the under. Now, if both teams score 50 points, then we lose and we're screwed. I don't necessarily see that happening, but stranger things have happened. Let's hope for the under, though. All right, prediction time, 52-40. I think Duke City could go lower, honestly. I've got it pretty high at 40. Like I said, that's still 92 points. That's still 92 points, which is still under 95.5. Now, can San Antonio score more points? Maybe. But I don't think Duke City's defense is the cause for concern. Like I said, I think that offense is probably the cause for concern. So could this be a lower scoring battle? Could be. But I do see it kind of more higher scoring, especially if, like I said, San Antonio gets out to a large lead. Let's just say it's 52-28 or something like that. And then Duke City comes in with some garbage time touchdowns. They don't hit the extra points or whatever, 52-40. So that's where we're at. I've got San Antonio winning this one. They get back in the win column. They need it to stay in the playoff race with Arizona, San Diego, and Northern Arizona. Duke City's just looking for some morale, trying to build some confidence for a second straight win. We'll see what prevails. But 52-40, that's what we got. Let's go check out preview number 3. All right, preview number 3, Frisco and Quad City. So let's start it off. 6:05 p.m. Central Time, YouTube and Caffeine TV, live from the Vibrant Arena at the Mark in Moline, Illinois. The 8-2 Frisco Fighters heading up to Illinois to take on the Quad City Steamwheelers, who are 4-5. This is a big game for both teams. By this time, we'll already see who has won between Green Bay and Massachusetts. That game has a lot of impact on this game. Now, again, it's not like, one team, if Green Bay wins or Massachusetts wins, it's not like one of these teams is going to sit there and be like, oh, they won, time for us to lose, lay an egg. No, it's both these games are going to have huge impact. You have the top 4 teams kind of playing each other in the East. It's kind of exciting. Getting some early playoff action, really. Taking a look at the stats, TJ Edwards is back. He takes over the rushing category from Martez Carter. 677 yards passing, only 2 interceptions on the season. I can't remember if he is in the sole possession of the rushing touchdowns or if he is tied with Max Myler. He's got 21. I think Myler has 20. Could be mistaken, though, but there we are. Cole Blackman takes over the receiving category, 309 yards and 9 touchdowns. Charles Williams leads defensive line. Royce C. linebackers, Lionel McConnell for the defensive secondary. On the Quad City side, Judd Erickson still leads in the passing category. Mike Irwin got benched partway through the game against Green Bay. Erickson came in the fourth quarter, I believe. He threw for 50 yards. I don't know who's going to start this game. I'll be honest with you. I have no idea. Rushing the ball, Edward Vander, 305 yards, 13 touchdowns. And Jared Harrington leads in the receiving category, 369 yards and 7 touchdowns. Keyshawn Moore, Malik Owens, and Malik Duncan lead in the respective defensive categories. Now we'll talk a little bit when it comes to roster time. I've got Malik Owens on the linebacking position right here. I don't know if he'll play it. We'll just talk about that. Players to watch here. I do have TJ Edwards. It was nice to see him come back and have one of his usual games. They don't throw the ball that often, but when they do, 10 of 16, 114 yards and 3 touchdowns. He rushed really well too. 9 rushes, 68 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, 68 yards, one of those was just that big off the left side, down the sideline rush that he just took off and ran for. So the majority of his yards, not to take anything away from the performance, but put it into perspective. This is a really good run, by the way. It was a nice touchdown. I've got Charles Williams for the defensive side. 3.5 tackles, 1 for a loss, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery. A couple people that I talked to and I've seen around Twitter and Facebook and all the socials, Quad City needs to run the ball. Run the damn ball. Charles Williams, I am putting there as the counter to that, as you're not going to run on him. Royce C. will probably be in there as well, breaking up the running game. We'll see what Quad City's strategy is. If they want to make it a shorter game, or depends on how badly they get behind, if they get behind, if they have to throw the ball. Players to watch for Quad City. 5 rushes, 19 yards, 2 touchdowns for Edward Vander, 5 catches, 35 yards. You need more production. Now, he can only do as much as he's getting the ball, so it's curious to see who... I've said this for quite a few teams. Who is the star of the offense? For Quad City, is it Edward Vander? Is it the quarterback position? Is it Harrington? I mean, he does return kicks and stuff too. I'm not sure. Who is the star on Quad City's offense? You need someone to break out, especially if you're going to be making a playoff push. You need someone that the other team can fear. Frisco has TJ Edwards. If they don't have him, then you've got Meatball Carter or Jimmy Smith. I mean, you know who the guys are. Defensively, I think they do have their guys on defense. Keyshawn Moore has been a wrecking ball. Malik Owens, switching between defensive line and linebacker, he's been his own wrecking ball as well. Malik Duncan, that secondary, Darian Jackson, who we'll talk about. I mean, the defense is all right. Who is that guy on offense for Quad City? We'll see. We'll see if anyone breaks out. I do have Darian Jackson, player to watch here for Quad City. 6 tackles, 1 pick. I have him here as more of a can you blanket Cole Blackman. We know that Frisco will take deep shots. They will lull you to sleep with the run, and then just when you think you're like, all right, let's go ahead and blitz, over the heads, there's Cole Blackman, there's Spencer Tiers, who's injured, there's Devin McCoy, there's whoever, touchdown. That's just kind of how their offense works. They will lull you to sleep and then throw it over your head. And even though they don't do that, they will still do the thing where they'll say, hey, we'll throw 2 or 3 deep shots. And then once we've got your coverage backed up, because we think you're throwing it deep on 3rd down or something, here's an RPO run for 10 yards. So, yeah, I mean, can Quad City cover that? I don't know. Not a lot of teams can right now. Frisco is good for a reason. Speaking of being good for a reason, they are 4-1 in the series history. They won in week 5 of this year, 54-37. I was going to say Quad City's only win, I believe, was that playoff game where they went to the championship and lost. So other than that, Frisco's pretty much dominated this series. They are favored by 11.5. The Fighters are on the road, so we'll see if home underdog can come into play here. Money line is locked in an over-under of 101.5. So Let's go take a look at the rest of the preview, see how the teams really shape up. All right, injury report. Nothing to report for Frisco. Stays the same as last week. For Quad City, Easton Bianchi, Sherrod Page are still there. Sonny Lane is put on this week, and Warren Newman comes off for the Steam Wheelers. So not much action in the injury category, which means probably not a lot of action in the roster category. Let's go take a look at that. All right, 25-man roster. With the away team, Frisco, nothing changes offensively. They're probably going to start TJ Edwards, Larry Harrington, Trip Harrington. He's probably going to play wide receiver or whatever he can to get onto the field as he does. He's just kind of that Swiss Army knife for the fighters. We'll see who starts running back wise. It doesn't necessarily matter. Martez Carter's kind of gotten the starts. Jimmy Smith is kind of spelled into it. Wide receivers will stay the same. Offensive line will stay the same. Defensively, you'll have your same three suspects on the defensive line with Royce C. In the linebacking position. I do think Adrian Hernandez, who is on the offensive line that I have there, he will probably play a little bit of defensive line to give some of those guys a break. Defensive backs, they have signed Ike Adigwu. He has played for San Diego this season, so just kind of adding more firepower to that secondary. We'll see if he gets into any action. They just had Tyrell Pearson play. They've had a really good secondary all season, so we'll see if he gets in. If not, they'll probably go with the usual suspects. Offensively for the Steam Wheelers, nothing changes offensively except adding Warren Newman to an already stacked wide receiving core. Does he get in? Does he play? I'm not sure. Some of these guys have gone cold. Some of these guys have really good games, and then sometimes they just go cold. I mean, Kevon Rudd, I thought, was going to break out. He has not necessarily done that. Jordan Vesey has had spouts where he has looked really good. Raheem Harvey's had a couple of games where he's gotten some nice passes. What can this offense do? Like I said earlier, what is this team's identity? Are you running the ball? Is Edward Vander going to be the guy that you have to look at? How do you implement this offense? What is your strategy? I want to see some of these wide receivers kind of pop off, or at least one of them, especially against a team like this. If you can prove yourself against Frisco, you have a shot in the playoffs, I guess. Defensively, nothing changes on the line. DJ Morgan has been released, so we'll see if Jalen Jenkins plays. We'll see if Malik Owens moves into that linebacker position. Excuse me. If not, it's the Jalen Jenkins show. Defensive secondary remains the same, and as always, the kickers are both there. So there's our roster. Let's go take a look at our bet. Let's go take a look at our prediction, and we'll move on with our next preview. All right, best bet, under 101.5. It's just the under show. I don't care anymore. No, for a secondary bet, I would maybe take Frisco minus 11. My heart's telling me not to, which means it's going to hit, but under 101, I know these teams can put up points. It just seems less likely. You're asking both of these teams to put up 50 points. I don't necessarily think Quad City can put up 50 points, especially on a defense and a secondary like Frisco. And even if that's not the case, then you're asking Frisco to put up 60 while Quad City only puts up 40. It can happen. I just don't necessarily see it. That's just a huge line that stands out to me. 101.5. Yes, Quad City has scored some points. Yes, they've looked kind of good, but who is this team really? Frisco, yes, they scored 52 against Massachusetts, but they've also been kind of wishy-washy. I have no issue with them putting up 50 plus points. Can Quad City? If that's the case, then we should have a pretty good game. If not, I'm looking at under 101.5. Let's move on with our prediction. All right, prediction time. 49-41, Frisco with the victory. Like I said, I have a lot of concern about Quad City putting up over 40 points. I think they can. I think 45 might be their threshold. For Frisco, I have no problem saying that they could score over 50 points, but I'm just kind of like regressing to the mean a little bit. I do think it'll be a little less close, if that makes sense. I do think Frisco will win by a wider margin, But if in the event that both teams just kind of run the ball and run some clock and there's penalties and whatever, you could see somewhat of a closer scoring game. But yeah, I don't know. I've got it as a closer scoring game. I don't necessarily see it, but as we all know, because I don't see something, it means it's going to work. So I do have Frisco winning 49-41. We'll see what happens. That being said, let's go take a look at our next preview. All right, preview number 4, the only 7:05 p.m. Central Time game on the docket. Let's get into it. So, yeah, 7:05 p.m. Central Time, YouTube and Caffeine TV, live from the Denny Sanford Premier Center in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. The 7-2 Vegas Nighthawks making their first ever trip to Sioux Falls, South Dakota to take on the 2-7 Storm. Yeah, you can look below, and we'll talk in a second, but we'll just talk about it now. Screw it. Who cares? Series history. They've never met before, which is insane. I was looking up, stats and, updating all of this stuff for this week's games. I thought these two teams had played before, but no, they've never played each other in the, 2 years that that Vegas has been a team. It's kind of crazy to think that they have never played, let alone played in Sioux Falls, played in Vegas, done whatever. It's crazy. So, now that that's out of the way, let's take a look at our statistical leaders. Jerome Johnson leading rushing and passing. Does he start? I don't know. It's been kind of weird for Vegas when it comes to that quarterback position. They've lost 2 in a row. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens on the road. Quentin Randolph leading in the receiving category. Gabe McCoy, Mikel Calhoun, and Bryce Hampton leading respective defensive categories. For Sioux Falls, Lorenzo Brown leading for the passing, Bryson Denley rushing, and Cantrez Bell for the receiving. Claude Davis, Amin Black, and Elijah Reed leading for the Storm. Now, as I've said, Elijah Reed having a great season, Amin Black having a great season. Why is this team not winning more games? They've lost a lot of close games. That's kind of been the issue. They've lost to Quad City twice that have been pretty close. They've lost to Massachusetts kind of close. They've lost to Iowa last week, pretty close. I mean, this team is, I think, better than their 2-7 record. But as the old adage goes, your record is what you say it is. So, or your record is what it is, or whatever. Yeah, 2-7, not good. They are not out of the playoff race. No one is out of their playoff race yet. This could spark a little bit of a fire if Sioux Falls can pull the upset. We'll talk about that in a minute. Let's talk about players to watch. Antonio Wimbush, I have him here. I believe this is the second week I have him. 60 rushing yards, 15 carries, 1 touchdown, 2 yards receiving with 2 catches. Again, reason I have him here, I don't know who's starting for quarterback. I would probably have them. Reyna looked all right playing against Northern Arizona. I don't know. Do they go back to the Jerome Johnson well, or is he forever to the bench now? I'm not sure. It'll be curious to see who comes out to the field when the kickoff is over. So, I've got Wimbush. He's doing stuff out of the backfield, running the ball, catching some passes. I could put Caleb Hawley here. I could put Quentin Randolph here. They've both have had decent games. They've had really good seasons. The secondary does worry me about Sioux Falls a little bit, but I think Wimbush with his kind of two-headed attack could kind of pose a threat right there. So, defensive back Bryce Hampton for Vegas, 5.5 tackles, 1 forced fumble, 1 pass breakup last week. He's had a really, really good season in the secondary, 39 tackles, 6 picks, 6 pass breakups. He has been all over the place. I expect more of the same from him. Not much more you can expect from that from a typical indoor game. 5.5 tackles is kind of the norm, 4.5, 5 tackles. He's been all over. I mean, he is breaking up passes. He's picking off passes. He's doing everything he can. And it's just not him. It's James Caesar. It's Jericho Flowers. It's whoever that they have back there. I want to see if Bryce Hampton, James Caesar, Hausman, Darius Williams, whoever is in that secondary, can they shut down this passing game of Sioux Falls? They have kind of gotten it going a little bit. They have finally spread the ball out. They have finally started passing the ball a little bit. Can Vegas shut that down? On the Sioux Falls side, Carlos Thompson, 4 catches, 38 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 rushes, 19 yards, and 1 touchdown. So 3 total touchdowns for him last week against Iowa. A little bit of a breakout. It's nice to see him there. He's playing pretty decently in the last couple of weeks. Kentrez Bell, I don't think he had a catch until the third quarter last week against Iowa. I'm still waiting to see what Lorenzo Thompson can do. He has had a couple of good catches, a couple of decent games. I want to see him break out. I want to see this offense really, really try and prevail here, but I do know that they kind of run first. Bryson Denley, Keyshawn Williams, Lorenzo Brown, they do want to run the ball a little bit to set up the pass. We'll see what they can do. We will see what they can do. I think Carlos Thompson, if he can break behind the defensive secondary, which Vegas is prone to do. They played San Antonio. They had some broken coverage. Can Carlos Thompson or Kentrez Bell get behind that secondary? We'll see. Defensively, Laronji Vasson McCoy, 4.5 tackles, 1 pick. It's kind of the same thing for Vegas. They do pass the ball quite a bit, but they do like to run the ball quite a bit as well. Antonio Wimbush had 15 rushing attempts. And that's not to say how many Jorge Reyna had. What they can do, deep shots. Vegas does take a lot of deep shots too, and you will see Caleb Hawley, you will see Quentin Randolph, you will see CJ Wyndham. Some of these guys will just be behind the coverage, just 10 yards behind the defender, and they look back and go, oh, he's already in the end zone. If Vegas can do that and do that routinely, like once per quarter, they're going to win this one. Simple. Yeah, we'll just see. I'm curious to see what team. I don't know if Sioux Falls will take deep shots if they just kind of go methodical. Vegas probably will. Nighthawks favored by 10.5 on the road. Money line is locked in an over-under of 98.5. So let's go take a look at the rest of the preview and we will move on. All right, injury report. Nothing. Everything stays the same. I'm just going to sit here and let you read it really quick and we will move on. All right, 25-man rosters popping up for Vegas. I didn't see anything change. Transactions or anything, nothing. I just we'll move on from there. They have the ability to do what they can do week in and week out. Let's move on to Sioux Falls. From what I've seen from Sioux Falls, I didn't necessarily see too much either. Offensively, they've signed Kenneth Williams. Will he play? I'm not sure. Tyrell Thompson started last week with Caldwell and Carroll, so expect more of the same there. Defensively, it's a logjam on the defensive line side. We'll see who starts, if they have any depth position guys or anything like that. One thing I do want to mention, though, Isaiah Blackman, I don't know if he's released. I thought I saw something on the transactions page that he was, but updating the rosters, I look at the transactions, I look at the team websites. He was still on the team website, so I don't know if he is still on the team or not. So we'll see. I thought I remember something in the broadcast last week that he was getting closer to a return. So I don't know. Maybe it was a glitch. Maybe it was something that was mistaken. So there's our rosters. Let's go take a look at our bet, and we will go with the rest of the preview. All right, best bet, under 98.5. You see the theme that we're doing here? This is the one that worries me, though. Under 98.5, you're asking both teams to put up over 50 points to hit the over. And both teams can do it. That's the thing. Both teams can do it. Sioux Falls just put up 45 last week. Vegas has routinely put up over 50 points. Question is, can they do it against each other? I have no doubt that Vegas can probably do it against Sioux Falls. Now, Vegas's defense isn't great. It's not bad. It's not spectacular. It's an all right defense. It is a defense that can win you a championship. But is that defense good enough to slow down Sioux Falls? That's my issue. If Sioux Falls can get their passing game going, and they can spell it with their running game and gain, 8-9 yards a pop in the running game, or maybe not 8-9, but they gain 8 yards and then they rush for another 2 or things like that and kind of keep Vegas honest. There's a chance that this over does hit. There's just something that doesn't sit right with me with under 98.5. over 98.5. It can be close. This could be one where we are sweating because you're asking for 49 points for both teams. I don't know. I don't know. I think Vegas can get there. And then even then, if Vegas gets over 49 and Sioux Falls goes under, Vegas could put up another touchdown or two, and you still hit the over. I don't know. This is the one that worries me. I'm still taking the under. Let's have some faith. There's still going to be some scoring. Like I said, you can be in the 40s, maybe even mid 40s, and you're looking at like a 45 to 44 battle. I don't see it, but you're still hitting the under. So let's go take a look at our prediction, and we will move on with our penultimate preview. All right, prediction time, 54-44. I have Vegas winning by 10, and that's to say that Sioux Falls is putting up those points. Like I said, I think that they can. I think Vegas can put up over their suggested 49 points. Now, granted, this is roughly in that realm of the spread with the over/under. Like I said, this line is actually a pretty good line for me. There's some stuff that sticks out in other lines that I'm always wrong with, but hey, this one was actually to me a pretty good line, which means it's probably a horrible line, but I just have Vegas winning at least by 10. Sioux Falls, they don't look out of sorts, but there's something that's just not clicking with them. This is a good chance for Vegas to get right. 2 losses in a row. You need to keep pace with Bay Area. You have Northern Arizona breathing down your neck. This is Vegas's kill shot to Sioux Falls saying, hey, we're going to come into your home. We're going to beat you. You're going to fall. See you playoffs. Like, Sioux Falls is clinging to dear life for the playoffs. This loss will ruin all those chances. So I think Vegas is going to use that as motivation, or at least try, and Nighthawks win. So let's go take a look at our next preview. We're getting close to the end. All right. Preview number 5. 8:05 p.m. Central Time, YouTube and Caffeine TV, live from the Pechanga Arena in San Diego, California. The 6-4 Arizona Rattlers taking on the 6-4 San Diego Strikeforce. Game of the week. I don't know. I do like Green Bay and Massachusetts, but maybe the later portion of the slate, game of the week. Both these teams, whoever wins this one is going to move into fourth place in the West. So this means a lot to both teams. This is a chance for San Diego to cut the head off the snake. This is a chance for Arizona to kind of assert their dominance like they have in previous seasons. It's going to be a fun game. I am actually very interested to watch this one. Looking at the stats for both these teams, Dalton Snead, Shannon Brooks, Glenn Gibbons all lead respectively. As I have said, I don't know what has happened to Glenn Gibbons. He just has not been a factor compared to the first couple of weeks. They have not moved on from him. He's still on the roster. He still returns kicks, and he plays kind of that depth wide receiver, that reserve. But yeah, they have Jamal Miles. They have, we'll talk about who they signed. And they do have Corey Reed, Niger Jackson. I mean, he's just kind of fallen by the wayside, unfortunately. But to his credit, he still has 488 yards. So I don't know if they're just reserving him for the playoffs or later in the season. But yeah, if he's still that leading receiver this far into the season, it just shows that no other wide receiver has kind of stepped up or had the production that he has had. So defensively for the Rattlers, Savon Lowry, Connor Taylor, and Devontae Merriweather lead in their respective categories. Connor Taylor, does he start? Does Travaris Farrell take in for a couple of games? He's already started the last 2, I believe. So we'll see what happens in that regard. For San Diego, Nate Davis, Chance Bell, and Jordan Kress lead for the offensive side. Nate Davis, 1,800 plus passing yards, 41 touchdowns to just 7 picks. Jordan Kress has taken off as your leading receiver since Arthur Jackson was suspended for 3 games, but Arthur Jackson has played pretty damn well as well. Jaquan Artis, Sherrod Williams, and Justice King lead defensively for the Strikeforce. Justice King has had a pretty damn good season himself. Sherrod Williams and Jaquan Artis all look like world beaters on that defense. So we'll see what goes on there. Let's talk about players to watch. Offensively for the Rattlers, I have Dalton Snead. Really good game against Jacksonville. Really good game. 7 passing touchdowns, 238 yards. He only missed 6 passes. He didn't rush the ball. He didn't need to. 22 yards or 24 yards on 2 rushes. They'll probably need to rush the ball in this one. We'll see if they can against that defense. But look for Shannon Brooks to have a good game. We'll see how well Dalton Snead spreads the ball around. Defensively for Arizona, I've got Devontae Merriweather. 10 tackles, 1.5 for a loss and 1 interception. All over the place against Jacksonville. All over, making tackles when he needed to. Had the 1 interception. You kind of need him. You need him. You need Dylan Winfrey. You need Jermaine Dobbs. You need this secondary to be stout. You know what Nate Davis is about. You know what this team is capable of. You also need Traveris Farrell or Connor Taylor to throw that, wrench with the blitz and stuff. So it's simple. It has not necessarily worked. I mean, San Diego is still over 500, but if you can get to Nate Davis, you can win the game. Player to watch for San Diego, Rudy Johnson. The stat line won't necessarily show it, but over 100 total yards, 98 98 receiving yards, 7 catches, and 3 total touchdowns. Swiss Army knife. He did throw 1 pass, and then he kneeled down against Tulsa. I look for him to kind of be that ace in the hole for San Diego. Just when you think you have Arthur Jackson or Jordan Kress covered, you think you've shut down the run game, here comes Rudy Johnson. We'll see what he can do. Does he take any snaps at quarterback? I don't necessarily think so, but crazier things have happened. It wouldn't shock me to have him kind of come in like they think that they're going to cover Nate Davis. Rudy Johnson comes in, runs a couple RPOs. We know that quarterback runs have kind of been the bane of Arizona's defense. So we'll see. But what Rudy Johnson can do, he can really, really foil Arizona's defensive scheme. I'll see. We'll see. Defensively, Sherrod Williams, again, same thing. You're going to have to pressure the quarterback, make him mobile. Dalton Snead didn't run the ball too much last week. You got to do it this week. 4 tackles, 2 pass breakups. I'm expecting more of the same. Can you get to him? It was easy to get to Tulsa, but can you get to Dalton Snead? That's going to be a tougher opponent. We'll see what Williams can do, what that defense can do. Is Arizona going to go with a quick passing game? Do they try and throw it deep? What does Arizona's offensive scheme look like? How does San Diego react to that? We'll see. San Diego, their lone win came in week 5 this year. Other than that, Arizona has won the other 7. So a 1-game streak for the Strike Force. Strike Force are actually favored by 5.5. Money line somewhat juiced to them. And an over-under of 100. So let's go take a look at the rest of the preview. We will move on. All right, injury report. Nothing to report on the Arizona side. For San Diego, they have taken Keyshawn Walker off of their exempt list from the CFL. So it doesn't look like he made a starting roster, so he is back with the Strike Force. We'll see how he fits into the secondary. Chance Bell has been downgraded to the season injured reserve list, and then added to the short-term injured reserve Isaiah Crocker, Aiden Johnson, and I can't remember if Jonte Berry was already there or not, but if not, well, he's there. So, that being said, let's go take a look at the rosters and our bets and our predictions. All right, 25-man roster popping up for Arizona. Offensively, they've got 3 new additions. Well, 1 new addition, 2 familiar faces. CJ Odom running the ball. Is that a maintenance day for Shannon Brooks? We'll see. If it's just added depth, I'm not sure. Isaiah Houston, wide receiver. He's been re-signed. I know there's a little bit of a flack for him getting released a couple weeks ago. They have brought him back. Begs the question of, is he going to play? He's probably not going to miss a beat if he does. Offensive line, they've signed Desmond Holmes. More depth there. We'll see if he plays. Defensively for the Rattlers, nothing really changes. Just who starts linebacker. Is it Connor Taylor, or does Traveris Farrell get another start? We'll see. For San Diego, offensively, just forget Trayvon Van is there. I forgot to delete him. He was released last week, or maybe a couple weeks ago, actually. So I forget why he's even on there. Rudy Johnson will probably play running back if they need to, and then probably some jet sweep stuff from the wide receivers. Offensive line, they've signed Adonis Boone from the Massachusetts Pirates, who was released earlier. Defensively, like I said in the injury report, Keyshawn Walker is back. He is probably going to possibly, perhaps start. We'll see how he goes. Connor Mangan is off the injury report with Aiden Johnson being put on. So expect more drop kicks. We'll see what goes on in that. Yeah, there's your rosters. Let's go take a look at our bet. Let's go take a look at our predictions, and we've got one final preview to do. All right, so best bet, I'm going over 100. Now, these two teams played earlier this year. It was 55-45. I was right at 100. I think both these teams can put up points. I think the defenses are kind of suspect, and I do think that if you can score quickly, I think both these teams, penalties, field position, if they try and do deuce attempts, if they kick deep, do whatever, there's an opportunity for the over to hit. Now, does the under hit? Probably. But this should be a fun game. I expect this game to come down to the wire. It could be the team that has the ball last wins it. It could come down to a mistake. It could, turnover, something like that, something mental. I do want some points, though. So that's why I'm going over. I do think it is capable. San Diego can put up 50+. Their passing game looks good. Can Arizona shut it down? Arizona can run the ball. They can throw the ball a little bit. They have that nice little, dink and dunk, tit for tat kind of thing where they, throw the ball, quick hitches, and then they'll throw it deep on you. So, yeah, over 100. Let's go take a look at our prediction. We'll move on with the final preview. All right, I got to pick someone here. 53-50. It's at San Diego. I know that doesn't necessarily mean anything. I just think San Diego is just a little bit of a better team right now, which means Arizona's going to win. I'm not shocked if Arizona wins this game. I do kind of expect them to, but San Diego has just kind of shown themselves to be a better team, dare I say. Now, Arizona is getting better as the weeks go on. If this game is played 2 weeks from now, I would probably pick Arizona. But I do think this is San Diego's last chance to get any sort of licks on the Rattlers for the foreseeable future. Until then, if Arizona loses this game, what does that do with their psyche? I'm not sure. If Arizona wins this game, oh boy, that fan base is right into the playoff hunt, and oh boy, are they cocky. Especially if you hope for other teams to lose, like Vegas or Bay Area, we'll talk about later. I don't see it, but yeah, if Arizona gets back into the playoff spot, anything can happen for the Rattlers. But I've got San Diego winning this one. I do see a nice back and forth battle, barely over the 100 point total, whatever. We just go from there. Like I said, I'm hoping for a good game. Gun to head, I'm picking San Diego, but I honestly couldn't necessarily pick a winner here. So, all right, final preview of Saturday night and Week 13, 8:05 p.m. Central Time, YouTube and Caffeine TV, live from the SAP Center in San Jose, California. The 2-7 Sugar Skulls of Tucson are heading to San Jose to take on the 8-1 Bay Area Panthers. What is there to talk about? One team just lost to a winless team, and another team is coming off a bye. So, you know, we have a lot to talk about with Tucson. We do. When you look at these statistics, you will see that someone is not there. Zach Reeder is your presumed starter for the Sugar Skulls. We will talk about it. Cat's out of the bag, though, if you go look at the transactions page. Mylik Mitchell refused to report. Now, that means that he is still on their roster. He's just not playing this week. He has refused to report, which means he's not going to practice. He's not doing all that stuff. It is up to the Sugar Skulls if they want to reinstate him, if they want to trade him, release him, whatever. He's refused to report. So, Zach Reeder comes over in the trade from Iowa from Daniel Smith going to the Barnstormers, I'm assuming. Mike Jones leads for the running game, Mike Kerrigan for the receiving game. Defensively, it's the same suspects, Braden Utley, Jaquez Jackson, Robert Sheffield. For Bay Area, Daquan Neal leads rushing and passing with over almost 1,200 yards total offense, only 2 interceptions. Now, granted, he has split time with Felix Harper. JT Stokes leads in the receiving category for the Panthers. Defensively, BJ Tafalele We'll see if he plays linebacker. I don't think he will. We'll see if he plays defensive line. It's probably where he's going to play. Darren Hungerford and Antoine Kincaid all round out your defensive leaders for Bay Area. So, that being said, who are our players to watch? Because Malik Mitchell has kind of been the man on a mission for Tucson. I've got Devontae Sapp Lynch. He looked good against Duke City. 58 rushing yards. He only had the one touchdown, but almost, he got 80 yards? Yeah, he's got 80 yards total rushing and receiving. You're going to need someone to step up on that offense. Malik Mitchell is gone. He's kind of been that guy. Not to say that Mike Jones can't prove himself worthy, but Devontae Sapp Lynch has just been kind of that firecracker that they need. Jaquez Jackson, 4.5 tackles, 1 for a loss, 1 pass breakup. He's got to get after Daquan Neal. I mean, simple as that. You've got to disrupt this running game. It's what Bay Area does. They will run it 8 times in a row on you and then throw it. They will run it 9 times in a row on you and punch it into the end zone. And just when you think that they're going to start the drive and run it, they will throw a deep bomb to JT Stokes. They will throw a deep bomb to Pierre Williams or whatever. Bay Area is one of the most, and I mean this in a nice way, they're one of the most effective, boring teams to watch, and they get you excited in the same way. Player to watch for Bay Area, Shane Simpson, 14 rushes, 84 yards, and 4 touchdowns. It's a grown man stat line. It's an outdoor stat line. He did it against San Antonio 2 weeks ago. Antoine Kincaid, 10.5 tackles, 1.5 for a loss, half a sack, 1 pick, 2 pass breakups. I'm expecting Bay Area to do some big things here. Antoine Kincaid steps up. You know, Tucson's probably going to throw it a little bit. They're probably going to be playing from behind. Kincaid and company probably going to shut down that passing game. So, series history, we're tied at 3. Bay Area won in week 5, 44-31. They are favored by 13 points with a locked money line and an over-under of 88.5. So let's go take a look at what we have for the injuries, the rosters, and the rest of the preview. All right, for the injury report, nothing changes for Tucson. For Bay Area, Davius Prather is on, and I forgot who got taken off. We'll talk about that in the 25-man roster. It's going to be a short one for this game, so there you go. All right, 25-man roster. Taking a look at the away side, as we said, Zach Reeder, he's there. Unless something has popped up between 4 o'clock on Friday and 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. There's probably maybe an emergency quarterback signing or something. I'm not sure. Zach Reeder's the guy. They have made some trades. They have signed Tyron Laughinghouse and Laquaviante Gonzalez from Duke City. That was in a trade. So there's some added depth. They have signed Jatavian Tolles. He played for Sioux Falls last season. And that's how their offense is. They have signed 3 new guys. I know Brian Smith has been kind of hurt. He didn't play last week. I believe his name is Demisio or Demecchio. Correct me how to say it. We'll see how they go. We'll see how they go on the wide receiving core. You got a quarterback throwing to new guys. Maybe not new guys. I can't remember if Zach Reeder was throwing to Laquaviante Gonzalez in Iowa. But yeah, a lot of new guys in the skill positions. You can rely on Sapp Lynch and Jones, really. Defensively, nothing changes for Tucson. Over to the Bay Area side. Hello, old friend. Benjamin Jones, running back. He was the Jones squared connection in Tucson. It'll be fun to see him play against his former team. I don't think anything else changes offensively for the Panthers. Expect more of the same. Defensively, I also don't see anything really changing for them as well. So, minus the Benjamin Jones signing, should be a fun game. And I'll see how Tyron Laughinghouse and Laquaviante Gonzalez go. Bay Area needs to keep pace, and they need to win this game in order to stay ahead of Vegas and Northern Arizona, who are nipping at their heels. Tucson needs some things to break their way if they ever want to get into the playoff race, but this loss to Tucson probably nixes that. So let's go take a look at our bet. Let's go take a look at our predictions, and we'll get on out of here. Yeah, so best bet, minus 13. I originally, I have it in my DraftKings. I had Tucson plus 13 before the Malik Mitchell news came out. So I know I'm going to lose that bet, but hey, minus 13 here. Bay Area is going to do what they do. Simple as that. Tucson looks lost. Just more of the same from them. Just keeps turning over the roster. New quarterback, new this, new that. I know we poke fun at Jacksonville with their roster turnover. Duke City with the amount of quarterbacks that they've gone through. Tucson's gone through quite a bit as well. Whether it's been Taz Wilson, Malik Mitchell, Torrance Gibson, and now Zach Reeder. The wide receivers, the defensive backs, the defensive line, like they have gone through so much turnover to try and get their roster right. No continuity, no wins. Easy as that. And there's a reason why Bay Area is 8-1. They've barely really turned over that roster. They've gotten the guys that they've needed. I got -13. Prediction time, 49-35. I've got it by 14 points. Honestly, I could see Bay Area scoring way more than 49. Tucson only scored 20 last week. I know that's not a good barometer, but you scored 20 against Duke City. This offense and defense of Bay Area is leaps and bounds better than Duke City. It's not going to be the 44-31 game that they had like last month. I think Bay Area is going to come out. They want to prove a point. I look for Bay Area off a bye week to win big. It'll probably be maybe in the 50s. Maybe if they have 49 points, Tucson doesn't score 35, but I still think Bay Area wins pretty big. So there we go. Let's wrap up and get out of here. All right, so there we have it. All the previews, rosters, bets, everything and anything in between. We'll get the recaps out as they go. I will get the Green Bay and Massachusetts recap out a little bit after the game ends while my kid's napping, and we'll go from there. Probably have this out sometime Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, and we move on to week 14. I am still working on the week 11 recaps. I might just nixnay those. It's been 2 weeks. I don't really care. Things have changed since then, so there we go. If you were looking forward to week 11 recaps, I sincerely apologize. But no, we'll get this one out probably sometime next week. We'll work on week 14 and go from there. Let's have a Saturday. Let's have a fun Saturday. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Hope you have a fun Saturday too, getting ready for kickoff. I'm going to go enjoy it. I'm going to go enjoy the rest of the weekend. You guys do the same. Again, love you. Appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time to watch these. As always, like, comment, subscribe, share, do whatever. Until then, taking off here, guys. See ya.